Hello and welcome to Sports Opinion, the weekly sports talk show on Channel 18, which is public access TV. My name is Dirk Keller. We got Bob Boyd back.
Hi, guy.
Bud Sueppel's here.
Yeah.
Earl Murphy's always here. And we have got a very special guest today. We'd like to welcome Tom Kakert from HawkeyeReport.com, the premier online website for all things Hawkeye. No doubt about it. Tom, welcome.
Thanks for having me again. Love being here.
Glad to have you.
Love being here with the gang.
So, Hawkeye football practice started last week, Friday.
Yeah.
And they had their media day on Monday. So we thought we'd have Tom come and talk to us about his observations and expectations.
And the Big Ten Network's there today for a show that will air 9 o'clock tomorrow night on the Big Ten Network. So
good to know.
Thursday night.
Yep.
Good to know.
Is that
Just Iowa, or is that all?
Just Iowa.
Just Iowa.
A whole hour of Iowa football.
Is that 9 p.m. or 9 a.m.? It's
9 p.m.
Okay. Okay.
Yep. And it'll air several other times, I think, throughout the week. So
Good.
Well, I don't think normally we would start our new season discussion by talking about the coaches, but there have been so many changes with the coaching staff that I think we have to lead off there. And you got to start with former Texas offensive coordinator Greg Davis.
Yeah, and impressive guy. You know, it's interesting when you talk to Texas. I've talked to a few Texas people, guys who covered him. Just can't say enough good things about him.
Is that right?
Really good guy. With their comments to me were, he had one really bad year, and he paid for it. Lost his job. Kind of a scapegoat situation where kind of forced to make some changes, and so Mac Brown let him go.
Well, he let go several coaches, didn't he, after the 5 and 7 season?
Yeah, and he just kind of felt like it was maybe the product was getting stale, but he did some remarkable things there. I mean, when you consider he had, Major Applewhite as a quarterback there. He had Vince Young and Colt McCoy, two very different quarterbacks, and he tailored those systems to utilize the talents that both of those guys had.
Tom, wasn't he also, Greg Davis, with Mac Brown in the previous, was it North Carolina?
North Carolina, yeah. He was at. He was also at Georgia when they had Mike Bobo and Hines Ward and Eric Zier, going back years before then. He's a real good quarterback coach, and not that Ken O'Keefe was not a good quarterback coach, but Greg Davis is first and foremost a quarterback coach. And then he's an offensive coordinator. Yeah. So I think from that aspect, you're going to see some improvements. Iowa quarterback position.
Do you think right away?
Yeah, I think he can do little subtle things. Ken O'Keefe was not a quarterback coach. I mean, he could coach quarterbacks and did a fine job at that. I mean, you look at. Fed two Big Ten MVPs during his tenure,
Banks
and Drew Tate.
Drew Tate.
So
then he and Drew Tate got a little upside down with each other, didn't they?
Yeah, but I think that had more to do with the philosophy of Iowa, and I think that maybe one of the other things here is maybe Kirk Ferentz is kind of letting Greg Davis do his own thing a little bit more. Not that he was micromanaging. Ken O'Keefe, but I think he had some parameters, wanted to be balanced, wanted this, wanted that, certain things, and I think maybe he's going to let Greg Davis have the reins off a little bit more, and I think we'll see some different things. Now, will Iowa be a 80-20 pass team? Probably not, but it might inch more towards 60-40.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
That'd be it.
And
we might have to run a little more the first couple of pass a little more the first couple of
Well, I think every place he's been, he's been the coach.
Yeah.
He's been the coach. The coach would stand and let him do the calling.
The other interesting...
He's got too good of a record.
The other interesting thing with him and with Phil Parker, and I'm going to write something about it this week, is that, and I talked to him on Media Day about it, is both of them are going to be upstairs.
Yeah.
Yeah. When Norm was healthy, Norm was down the field. Ken was always down the field talking to the quarterbacks, getting feedbacks. Greg's a box guy. He's always liked to be up there to kind of see what's going on and visually look at things. Norm, in the later years was upstairs, but Phil wants to be up there also to look, and then he's going to signal down to, or he's going to, talk through the thing to Daryl Wilson, and Daryl will signal in the play to James Morris, who'll make the calls there. And
That's interesting.
and then, with Greg, he's going to let the coaches downstairs know, and they're going to get to the quarterbacks, and they'll signal in. They'll have a dummy guy, and then they'll have, like they have had, and they'll have somebody who's really putting in the signals. He wants to be at the line of scrimmage with 18 seconds left on the play clock.
Good, we need that.
We sure
He
do.
wants the tempo to be quicker. He's that's one thing he's really going to focus on, and you'll see a little more no huddle, I think, from him too. He's gonna, when the time is right, he's gonna spring it, and he's gonna use it, and I think
I'm gonna love that.
yeah, I think it'll be. I think tempo is a big thing with him, and
Clock management.
and if there's one thing that Ken got kind of harped on by Iowa fans was sometimes things kind of drug on a little bit. By the way, Ken O'Keefe made an appearance in Hard Knocks last night on HBO. So
Oh, did he?
that's if you're an Iowa fan, it was pretty interesting because you got Joe Philbin,
Yeah.
the head coach, who's basically the star of Hard Knocks. And then you've got Ken O'Keefe in there, who's interacting with Chad Johnson Ochocinco, who is quite an interesting personality. And Eric Steinbach was in there last night.
Is that right?
He signed as a free agent, came in there late. And Eric got to talk on there. He's pretty funny, too. Much funnier than I remember him being.
Yeah.
So
Good.
it was pretty cool.
Good.
Yeah.
Well, how old is Greg Davis?
He is, I want to say he's 60, 61.
So he's probably not a head coach candidate anymore.
No, I don't think so. The interesting thing with him is last year he was out of football. He was not coaching. He kind of termed it a redshirt year for him. He went around and looked at other programs and talked to other coaches and kind of, did like a study abroad program almost, where he just kind of went around and studied other people and what they're doing, and I think he'll utilize some of that here at Iowa.
Greg is pretty well known, like you said, for his quarterback knowledge. What else should we expect from him?
He's also been a pretty good running back. So, I mean, he had Ricky Williams, for gosh sakes. I mean, he's had some pretty good backs. Cedric Benson. I mean, he had some good running backs during his tenure at Texas. So he knows how to run the ball. I don't think you'll see a lot of change in the way Iowa runs the ball. I think that's a Ferentz thing. And when you got Brian Ferentz in the offensive line. And we'll get to Brian in a minute, I'm sure. A long discussion about Brian, but that ain't broke, and these kids know how to do that. They're going to run the zone scheme. You might see more. What I think is maybe more shotgun, more running with a back. In the backfield, maybe some runs out of that, some different, I think you'll see some different shotgun kind of things from Greg Davis, which I think is going to be kind of fun it'll be different, that's for sure. It'll be different. We'll get a look Saturday.
Well, anything that has been criticized by the Iowa program the last several years is how predictable we are. And you even hear the TV commentators saying those kinds of things, and it sounds like that's going to change a little bit.
Well,
somewhat.
You know what? I don't think Kirk Ferentz minds being predictable, because in his mind, it's always been about execution. You can tell somebody what's coming, but if you kick their butt up front, there's nothing they can do about it.
But isn't it better if they don't maybe know sometimes?
Well, I mean, there's an element of surprise. But one thing I think, if you talk to fans from other fan bases, they'll tell you the same thing about predictability about their offense. Every one of them says, I know what play's coming, I know what play's coming. We heard it back when Hayden was here. Everybody knew that when it was 3rd and long, what was the call? Draw play, right?
Exactly.
The draw play. 3rd and long draw play from Hayden. We always knew it was coming.
And Kirk and Ken O'Keefe did a lot of that too on 3rd and long.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of a safe play sometimes. They move the ball a little bit. And
Well, I think Iowa is pretty lucky to have Greg Davis here. Out of all the possible offensive coordinators.
Did Kirk know him before?
A little bit. They kind of knew of each other. They didn't have a long relationship or anything, but kind of knew each other. And Kirk knew people who knew Greg, so he got some good recommendations.
Does he have a family?
Yeah, I don't know if they're. I don't know the situation there though. But
Yeah.
Who do you think set that up? Who introduced them to each other?
I think Greg applied for the job, got in touch with some people. I think Greg knew Joe Philbin. I think that may have been kind of part of. I think he knew Ken too, and some other people. And I know I'm pretty sure Mac Brown made a phone call on behalf of Greg.
Sure.
And I know Kirk and Mac know each other. So.
Philbin was a honey.
Yeah,
I know him quite well.
It's pretty amazing. You look at Joe Phil. I mean, I'm thinking about that last night watching that show. I'm like, who would have thought?
Yeah.
He was a pretty quiet guy when he was here, and now he's got to play this TV character. I mean, he was a heck of a line coach.
How long was he on the Iowa staff? 4 or 5 years?
So he came with Kirk in '99 and left in what 03, 04?
I don't know.
Okay.
I was thinking 4 years.
Okay.
Maybe more.
Yeah.
So you mentioned Brian Ferentz. That's the next big story. I mean, here's a guy who brings several new dynamics to the coaching staff. Number one, he's got NFL experience. Number two, he's the head coach's son. Number three, he's not the brother of one, but two of the players on the team.
Did you guys see that picture?
Yeah. There's a good picture out there with all four.
Can't you imagine that in the Ferentz house at this point? I mean,
you talk about pride.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh,
Plus, he's a social media guru, right?
Yes.
That's we can talk about that, but Brian is so impressive.
Is he?
I mean, it's funny. I had at Media Day people who had either weren't covering the team when Brian was around or hadn't been around him just much at all. And I feel like I knew Brian pretty well when he was here and interviewed him a lot and talked to him a lot. And we've kept in touch over the years. Every once in a while, I'll email just to say hi or whatever. And he's just such an impressive guy. But so many people came up to me like, "Holy cow, he's like a head coach." I mean, he's just they were blown away by him. And I'm like, I said that back in 2005 when he left. That I can imagine a day someday when his father retires here after 20-some years, Brian comes back and hand the reins over to him, and I would have no problem with that, and I still wouldn't have any problem with it. I mean, he's so impressive with his grasp of what to say. He's honest. He doesn't mince words sometimes, and he'll shoot it to you straight. And he's such a good person. I mean, he doesn't get any better than Brian. I mean, you can tell he was raised right. That's probably right. Mary's doing. I would imagine more than Kirk's, but. Kirk would tell you.
Watch the show,
Kirk would tell you it was Mary.
Absolutely.
Now, the kid is Mary.
So Mary, if you're watching, congratulations.
Yeah,
good job.
Now, back when Brian took the job, or was about to take the job as offensive line coach at Iowa, there were rumors at the very same time that he had been, just so the viewers know, Brian had been with the Patriots and was a fast riser with the Patriots.
How long was he there?
Right.
2 years?
He spent a year with the Falcons, player, and I think right after that camp, the following year, he kind of said, "You know what?
I'm not going to be
time to be coach," and obviously had a few connections with the Patriots, Scott Pioli, Bill Belichick, and he was doing the grunt work. I mean, he was doing real grunt work.
They liked him, didn't they?
Well, they loved him. I mean, Belichick loves him. I mean, you can tell Belichick loves him. And he rose up to the tight ends coach the last couple of years. And
Those tight ends had a great season.
I think they did pretty well. I mean, Gronkowski set a record for most touchdowns by tight end. Aaron Hernandez, not bad either. You know, you could take those two guys and win a few football games with them. So.
Yes, sir.
But he's back to his home, I think. He wanted to be back here, and Kirk's even talked about that he Kirk told that story in February about how Brian, unbeknownst to his dad, applied for a graduate assistant position at Iowa.
Really?
And he needed to see more of the world. Kind of was Kirk's
good advice.
Yeah.
And it probably did help him to get away from here.
Yes.
And
Sure. Yeah.
But now he's back, and you know he's going to be a tremendous offensive line coach. Not that Reese Morgan wasn't. Reese was tremendous as well. And we could talk about Reese and the difference he's going to make at the defensive line.
Yes.
Well, back to Brian for a moment. When he took the job here, just before he did, rumor was that he was headed to Penn State with their new head coach, who came from the Patriots.
I don't think he would have done it. I don't think he wanted
What
to
if he now? The rumor I heard was that he was offered the offensive coordinator's position.
I don't think he would have done it.
Do you think that rumor's true? That he might have gotten that position?
I don't think. I think it would have been a non-starter. I don't know that Bill O'Brien would have even offered him that position.
Because it's Penn State.
And I think he wanted to come back here. I'm like you, so bad.
Yes.
So bad.
I don't think he could bring himself to putting on a different color polo. I just don't think he could do it.
Well,
That makes sense, yeah. That's for sure.
So what do you expect to see different on the offensive line?
I don't know if you'll see a lot different. I just think he's not that Reese was inactive, but I'm kind of curious to see Brian on the sidelines, because I think Brian's going to be one of those guys that's really demonstrative. I think that's just his personality. He's a chatterbox.
Now he'll cut his brother James some slack, right?
In fact,
I wouldn't necessarily guarantee that.
Probably a little. You know, it's funny because I've always talked to James about this. That even last year, he was talking to Brian a couple times a week.
Oh, was he?
Just about. You know, technique and what he was doing and what he needs to do, and Brian was a tremendous center at Iowa. Given his physical limitations after he had the staph infection and the knee injuries and everything, what he
almost died, didn't he?
Yeah.
Well, he almost lost his leg.
Yeah.
And didn't he come back and make all Big Ten?
Yeah. So it's just.
Brian was a 3-year starter, and so was James,
Heart and guts and toughness. And that's Brian Ferentz as a player. Heart, toughness, and guts. I mean, he was tremendous.
If you're going to be an offensive lineman in the Big Ten, you better have all three of those.
The thing that you like about him as an offensive line coach is he was a tremendous leader here. And I think you'll see that from him with these guys, and not that Reese Morgan was. Reese was obviously taught him how to lead. So,
yes,
What kind of things did Brian do as a player to demonstrate his leadership abilities?
The center has to be your leader, has to be, and that's some of those lines weren't great. I mean, they're following in the footsteps of that 0-2 group that had, maybe the best offensive line from end to end in Iowa football history, and they had injuries, they had tougher situations, and he just grinded and led that group, and that's when they were winning 10 games in a row. I mean, 3 years in a row, and Brian was the center. And
that's hard to top.
Yeah,
sure is.
So who's going to be playing for him on the offensive line?
I think right now you'd start with Brandon Sheriff, who if you get on the computer, look on the Go Hawks website. They have a thing of him doing the hang cleans, which is basically you lift the thing of weight up and you bring it up to here, and he did 400 pounds, which is the record for an Iowa football player. He's a big. Brandon Sheriff's the next big.
Just like
offensive,
this.
400 pounds. Boom.
That ain't easy.
Wow.
400 pounds.
That guy from an Olympics, he did 400.
Yeah, dropped it on his head. I saw the other guy who did the, above his head, and he dislocated his elbow.
And when they went out, they put a blanket up because they figured
He was sick.
they were.
Oh, yeah. He got up, but he's done. So Brandon Scherf at left tackle.
And he's the next great left tackle for us.
He's a junior.
He'd be a sophomore this year, so he's young.
Good.
Wow.
He is really good. He's really big. Imagine this: when he was in high school.
Really good.
They're really big. I like it.
When he was in high school.
Pretty strong.
When he was in high school, he was a quarterback, and he was like 6'8", 6'9".
Is this the kid from Nebraska?
No, he's from Denison, Iowa.
Oh.
Yeah.
And he was also a pitcher on their baseball team. Can you imagine a guy that big, almost 300 pounds, up there, 6'10", coming off the
scary.
hill right in front of him?
Wow.
It's scary, but
Denison, Iowa. Isn't that where Mamie Eisenhower came from?
that I don't know.
I'm pretty sure.
He
Boone?
come from Boone, Iowa.
Who's the movie star who came from Denison?
Oh.
Female. Somebody out there knows. If you know, call Bud Sueppel tonight after midnight.
Yeah, right.
Okay, so Brandon Scherf at left tackle.
Probably Matt Tobin at left guard. James Ferentz at center. Austin Blythe, right guard. and
Williamsburg.
then-
Wait.
And then
Slow
Brett
down. Not so
Sloan.
fast. 'Cause
Is he a redshirt freshman?
Yeah,
Okay.
is he good?
he's really good.
Yeah.
No.
Really good. And he's running with the ones right now. I think he and Connor Buffelli are going to be fighting it out a little bit. But,
Yeah.
Tell us about Matt Tobin.
well, he's got a lot of experience. Came to Iowa as a walk-on. He's a big kid. Reese Morgan really liked him throughout. And he got a lot of experience last year. And I think he continues to develop. And Van
Is he a
Sloten,
senior?
yes, and Van Sloten at the other end, the right tackle.
He's
I think
from
he's really
Decorah.
Decorah, really good. Dad played at Iowa State, and son was smart.
Yeah.
What year is he, Tom?
He is, I want to say a senior, I think, but maybe a junior.
Van
I can't
Sloten?
remember. Yeah,
Yeah.
I have to look it up. We'll have to look it up.
Okay.
But and there's a lot of young talent there too. Andrew Donnell, another kid to watch. Nolan McMillan's finally healthy, so
Yeah.
he
Oh,
can be
I'm
back in
anxious to
there
see
in
him
that
get a
mix
shot.
a little bit.
He's a kid from Montana.
Casey McMillan, he is over playing defense now.
Where is he from? Canada or?
McMillan, he's from Canada. He's from
okay.
Toronto
Okay.
originally. So they've got a
Where
lot
he's
of
defense now.
Casey McMillan, yeah. He's playing defensive tackle now.
That's good.
So who are we going to have run behind these guys? What about this Meyer kid that played 8-man football?
Nate Meyer,
Logo?
interesting kid.
Yeah.
Because he is, in his highlight film is like, it would be like me playing against my son and his 8-year-old friends. Yeah, it's like he's dragging people to the end zone. I mean,
Yeah.
he was, he's just a big kid.
Van Sloten's a junior, by the
Junior,
way.
yeah. I kept thinking it was a junior.
Austin Blythe,
Yeah.
freshman.
Yeah, redshirt freshman.
Wow.
Well, how big is he?
6'3", 290?
275. it says
275,
here.
yeah.
Yeah.
Connor Buffelli, 6'5", 290.
Okay.
Brett Van Sloten, 6'7", 292. And then Nolan McMillan, 6'6", 290.
What are they listing Scherf at? He's not 6'5". He's bigger than 6'5".
6'5", 310.
Is he?
He is. I think he's probably about 6'6",
310.
310. And he doesn't look heavy.
He does.
He's just a big hombre, big old country boy.
Well, we've got some pretty decent depth in that offensive line.
Oh yeah, that's maybe the deepest position
Yeah.
that Iowa has this year. Running back, obviously DeAndre Johnson leaving.
Yeah.
Everybody was, falling off the bandwagon because they lost another running back, but it's not a terrible situation. It's not 2004.
How is this
It's not
Garmin?
Sam Brownlee.
How is Garmin?
He's doing okay. He's running with the twos. He and Barkley Hill are splitting time with the twos. I've always, and I think I said this on the show around signing day, that I thought Barkley Hill would play before Greg Garmin, and I still do.
Okay.
I still do. I think Barkley just fits what they're going to do. But I think if Garmin can catch the football out of the backfield, he's going to be a valuable asset. With both those young guys, it's about blitz pickup.
What about Hill? How about his hands?
He's pretty good, but he just hasn't caught the balls. But there were a lot of recruiting people who thought that Greg Garmin would play wide receiver at the college level, so they like his hands.
Okay. Well, what about Bullock?
He's, it's so funny because last year at this time he was getting Damon Bullock,
running back.
Last year at this time he was getting switched over to wide receiver.
Yeah.
And the only reason he moved back to running back at the time was because Mikhail McCall got hurt in the first game.
How about Rogers?
Could see some in the one back, I think, just because they know what you're getting with blitz protect with him. He's going to do a good job there.
Yep.
Who's second team quarterback?
Right now, Jake Rudock. But I think Sokol will make a push.
He's a big kid, isn't he?
But Sokol, the thing with Sokol is Sokol has that red shirt to use. So if it's, unless there's a big difference there, I think they'll use the red shirt on Sokol. And then next year, it's Rudock and Sokol battling for the job.
Okay.
Sokol's 6'2", 215, and Rudock is 6'3", 200.
So is Sokol the one from Arizona?
Yeah, who has family in Des Moines, and
okay.
He's got some ties to the.
And he went to junior college?
Yeah, he was at JUCO down in Arizona for a year.
1 year. Okay.
He comes ready to pretty much play, doesn't he?
He's been here since the spring.
Yeah. Wide receiver, pretty strong position for that.
I mean, this spring it was kind of iffy. I know they weren't happy with the wide receivers beyond. Keenan was hurt a little bit in the spring, and
he's our senior.
And Cavante played pretty well, I thought, this spring. But after that, no guy stepped up. Now, Eric Campbell is singing the praises of Don Shumpert early on in practice, so he's a guy that needs to emerge. And the two of the freshmen that got mentioned by Greg Davis on Media Day were Reese Fleming and Tevin Smith. Are two of the true freshmen. I think a couple of those guys will play. I think Fleming's going to have a shot.
He said they had good hands.
Yeah. Fleming's got a shot because he's one of those guys that's dynamic with the ball in his hands, and I would not have dynamic with the ball in the hands kind of guys.
Yeah.
He's a guy that'll get the ball and scoot and make people miss, and he's got a chance, and I kind of
remember another Fleming that did pretty well, right? Willie Fleming.
Willie Fleming wasn't bad.
What a sad story that is.
Yeah. One season.
1 year.
Now, let me ask you, veterans, where does Willie Fleming rate for you guys all time running back at Iowa?
Well, he only played 5 games for Iowa.
Yeah. He would have been a great one if he'd have been eligible
he
for
was
3 years.
He was good.
Very, very.
Very quick.
Very good.
Great lateral moves. I mean, he had a lot of speed, but 5-6 games, he's gone.
I had a situation with Burroughs, Fleming, and Jeter after the Rose Bowl game in be the 58 team. I think that's that 58 team, 59 Rose Bowl.
Yeah.
That I'd pick them up, and they'd come to my house for dinner. So I got there and I picked them up, and we were coming back, and everybody was on Fleming. They thought he was something else, and Fleming said, "I'm not going to be. I'm not going to be there. I'm not going down and have some fun." And Burroughs said, "I'm going home and study." And Jeter said, "I'm coming with you, Murphy."
He wanted to eat.
He was hungry.
And that is so good, you know. And then Jeter died at a pretty young age.
So sad.
Yeah.
And
where did Willie Fleming ever end up? Didn't he go back to Detroit?
Canada,
I don't suppose so.
Ended up in Canada.
Yeah,
Did he?
Played Canadian
yes.
football.
That's right.
And he played well.
Yes. But I had some great relationships with the players. So.
He came back Willie came back for that reunion.
Yes.
Yes.
And he hadn't seen most of those teammates since they graduated.
Is that right?
Yeah. I mean, I talked to all of them, and they were really tickled to see him because it had been so long.
50 years.
Yeah.
Say, where is that? You have that record, or I mean,
I'm sure I do. I hope I do.
I'd like to hear it.
Yeah.
Okay.
We ought to get copies of that.
I'm trying to think who shot that. Oh, it was what's his name? Son. Foundation.
Oh,
Daryl's
son.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. We'll get something.
Well,
Okay.
Tom, I'm curious. How would you like to be Lester Erb this year, running backs coach?
He's probably used to it by now, isn't he?
Well,
Yeah.
I don't know if you ever get used to losing all these guys. I mean,
My goodness.
Well, he's familiar with the situation.
yeah.
Remember in 2009, everybody was counting on Jewel Hampton to be the guy. He gets hurt
Yeah.
in the off season, and they have to go with Paki O'Mara started the first game. That didn't work, and then it was Adam Robinson and Brandon Wager, a redshirt freshman and a freshman, and the results were pretty good. Of course, you had a pretty good defense then too.
Yes.
But
Those guys scored points.
yeah,
They came up with big running plays.
yeah,
Did a good
it
job.
can be done.
That's right. Well, especially with what we should have is a very good offensive line.
Yeah, it can
It
be
sure helps.
can be done.
Yeah.
It's the
See, this last one we lost, I don't understand.
Johnson,
DeAndre?
you mean?
DeAndre.
I think he had some.
He must have had something else.
He had some previous
That's
checks
what-
in the boxes. I think.
Okay, that's
Yeah.
what I figured, because those are two misdemeanors, and if anyone
And
knows.
I think it was more about
time
he's
limit.
probably had something, and then it was two things within 3
Yeah,
days.
but both of them are really minor.
Yeah.
And nobody better drive through the University of Ice without inspecting.
And perhaps it may have been something to do, just speculating here, I don't know this for a fact, but when you go from being suspended kind of from team activities to dismissed, maybe it's how he reacted to
Well, that's true. That's what I was thinking.
it.
Yeah. What about Colin Sleeper?
He's
What did he do at the Insight Bowl to not only get kicked off and sent home?
Nobody's really said for sure. I think he may have broke curfew or something, and
But curfew will lose you this many games?
Well, who knows, but we'll never know.
Yeah.
Maybe it's what he did while he was breaking
it's
curfew.
what he did, but
I'm gonna guess when you go out and break curfew, you're probably out also having a few adult beverages.
you're not looking at traffic.
He's taking a big hit.
You didn't go to a movie.
No. Didn't go to a Disney film.
He wasn't saying the
What
rosary.
about this back we lost from Penn State? Did we ever really have a shot?
Akeel Lynch, he thought about it, but
Yeah.
there's so much peer pressure there
I'm sure.
right now with everything going on there, and
They lost 9 that transferred, right?
they gave it a shot, and he considered it, and,
Yeah.
but in the end, probably Silas Redd leaving probably hurt Iowa.
Yeah. It gives Akeel Lynch the opportunity to run with the ball quite a bit. And
Yeah, but he can't run past about Thanksgiving.
nope.
And he's not going to have very many guys blocking for him in a couple of years.
No.
I don't think this year will be as
No, they
tough
got-
on him as the next 3.
They got gutted on offense.
Did they?
They got lost Silas Redd, their best running back. They
Yeah.
they
Yeah,
lost
to Southern
their
Cal.
leading wide receiver. Their tight end position was gutted a bit. They don't have many of those.
But I still think
Lost their
this
kicker.
year
Kicker.
won't be as bad as next year.
Yeah, they're going to just continue to get gutted, and
Yeah.
there's recruits that quote unquote recommitted. That just one kid that quote unquote recommitted to him, but then this week he commits to Notre Dame.
Yeah.
So
They're going to have a lot of that.
I think that's going to be an ongoing thing.
If you're just tuning in, we're visiting with Tom Kakert from HawkeyeReport.com.
All good.
Tom was at Media Day
right.
a couple days ago for the Iowa football program, and we're talking all things Hawkeye football today. Penn State again. Last night, I commented that I think Penn State is going to be down for a generation, at least a decade. I think it's going to be a long time before they get back to where they are. And I had the other 3-4 guys disagree with me and say it's only going to be a couple years. Pennsylvania's loaded with talent. I said I
think it's too early to tell at this
That's
point,
right.
one way or the other.
Yeah. They start losing some of those high rollers,
I mean,
they're going to be in trouble.
Well, you know, we probably thought the same thing about Southern California, and they're picked by some now after 2 years.
Yeah, but that wasn't what this
to
is.
win the national championship.
That's
different
what,
situation.
Well, they still
different
lost a lot of
situation.
scholarships,
Yep.
guys.
Different situation.
yeah,
It
but
is.
this is a different.
This is money.
These guys, people, well, it's the act.
And then
People don't want to be
yes.
given to this act.
They don't want to be associated
That's
with it.
right.
I think they're going to have
Now,
a
that's
real
what
hard
you
time.
would think, but in the paper about 2 weeks ago, did you know that 2011, their Penn State Foundation raised over $200 million? That's the second most they've ever raised. That to me was shocking considering the circumstances.
I'm going to be curious how this impacts them in terms of advertisers and corporate
That's right.
sponsorships.
That's
I
right.
think that's,
Oh, it'll kill them.
Several have already.
See,
pulled
I'm
out.
not too
Yeah.
sure that the game with ABC with us won't be canceled, or we'll shove down another one.
It's not going to be on ABC, I was told.
yeah, it's on Big Ten Network.
Yeah.
Oh, it
The
is.
7 o'clock p.m. the night game.
Oh.
Big Ten Network.
Yeah.
It is, okay.
Okay.
Which is a much smaller audience than ABC would bring.
Say,
Yeah.
For sure.
and it happened about 10, 15 minutes ago, but you said one thing about the defensive line. It'll be all right with
Reese.
With
Reese Morgan.
Let's
Yeah.
talk about that.
Well, let's talk
Why don't you
about that.
It's
talk
very,
about that?
What do you
it's a
think?
different atmosphere. I mean, you know, Rick Kaczynski was a yeller, a screamer.
That's right.
A guy who, you know, if you know comedy, where he worked Blue.
Yeah.
I mean, he was a swearer. He's a guy who just, you know.
He made it personal, too, is what I'm told.
Yeah, and he, if you have a guy like that, it wears on you.
Yes.
Oh,
Yes.
You can lose guys. I mean,
yeah.
and you saw a lot of attrition on the defensive line because guys just got tired of being yelled at. You could tell they're a little more relaxed. Reese Morgan, I said this yesterday, or yesterday or the day before on a radio show. I said, I'm convinced that Reese Morgan could teach tennis at the high school level or golf or whatever, and those guys would be successful. Because he's just one of those guys that has the gift to teach anything to young people and communicate it and get them to understand it and have them be successful. And he's just one of those guys. I mean, you know, you guys saw what he did at West High.
Oh, my.
And
Yeah.
that was a remarkable rebuild that he
Took
did.
them from the
Oh.
ashes.
I mean, that
Sure
program
did.
was,
And they all loved him.
At the bottom.
and he is
He's a wonderful guy.
Yeah.
A wonderful
one,
man.
the great man, great teacher, and I think he'll have that group. They may take a few lumps, but I think you're going to see better than we expect. I think they're going to have to learn. But the positive thing I've heard, the most positive thing I've heard from the defensive line side of thing is the light bulb has gone on for Carl Davis. I said this last year that everything. If Carl
That's-
Davis's
that's
light
pretty
bulb,
good.
if Carl Davis's light bulb went on and he was healthy, then it changes the complexion. If you've got a guy who's 6'5", a natural 300-pounder, who's as big and strong as he is,
And quick.
and quick and athletic, you can throw him in the middle of the defense. It eats up so much space. And you look at the NFL teams, they've got those big guys that, you know, the Vince Wilforks and guys like that just eat up space. You know, back in the day for the Bears, Refrigerator Perry.
We touched on it.
And not that he's Refrigerator Perry, but just a big guy that can eat space and make plays. If you have him in there, it makes life easier for Dom Alvis, makes it easier for Steve Bigak or Joe Gaglione. And those guys are veteran guys, you know, in the case of Gaglione and Bigak, seniors who are going to play with a sense of urgency. Trinka Passat, maybe at the other tackle, or Darian Cooper. Trinka Passat's a kid he reminds me a lot of Carl Klug in some ways. You know, where he's kind of shoots those gaps quick, uses quickness, and
All right, along with the defense goes the linebackers.
solid group.
And they've got a new coach, too.
LeVar Woods?
Yes.
Who's coached him a little bit already before, because when Norton was out, LeVar stepped in there and did a good job.
Kids really respond to LeVar, don't they?
Yeah, he's a great guy.
He is wonderful.
A lot of NFL experience, more than any other coach on the team.
Yeah, and he's
Tom,
good.
Do you think that with these, with Brian Ferentz and LeVar Woods, these two young guys being added to the staff, does that have anything to do with, we have early commits like we've never had before. Is that just a nationwide trend that's going on, or does that have something to do with the social network more so with the younger staff?
A couple of things. I talked to Brian and LeVar at Media Day, because I'm doing a story on kind of the social network stuff, the Facebook, the Twitter, the website, the interactiveness of the program, which has changed dramatically in the last year since Brian arrived. And LeVar was already pushing it, working on it. He's the one who redesigned that Go Hawks website, which is tremendous, a lot of good information. But they're using social media like Twitter, like Facebook, to communicate, to the fans, give you guys a glimpse, give you a taste of what's going on out with the team. And Brian's tweeting, LeVar's tweeting, they're out there, prepare to be the best. Coach Doyle's out there tweeting a lot, putting out his message, inspirational.
Twitter and Facebook are the language that high school kids speak.
And it's the simple thing of, for fans, ready for practice today, shooting a picture of the guys getting to walk into practice.
Yeah.
And that gets fans excited.
You bet.
From the recruiting side of things, you can communicate with them. You're sending out a message to them also. Hey, we're preparing to be the best. We're the bullies of the Big Ten. We're, put out things about Iowa. And the kids read that who are potential recruits. Those guys are on Facebook, on Twitter. You can direct message with them, talk with them on Facebook directly, or on Twitter you can send direct messages to them and communicate with them. Because the thing with kids today, and I find this out in my business, calling recruits, they want to text with you. They want to social media with you. They don't answer phone calls.
Right.
Yeah.
They don't like to talk on the phone.
Neither do my kids. They do the same thing.
A lot of kids, I'll have to send them a text and say, hey, can I get you for a couple of minutes? I'll have called them and they don't pick up, and then I'll send them a text and boom, I get a response right back. Yeah, call me now. Call me right now. Boom, you get them on the phone. I just need a couple of minutes. That's how it is today with kids. They communicate through. I don't know if that's good long term, because I don't think they develop personal relationships with people, face-to-face relationships. I just don't. And Brian and I talked about that at Media Day. We're not sure if this is good long term, but it is what it is today, and this is the way that kids communicate. So I think it does, with respect to recruiting, it's a national trend. I look back in April when Iowa was starting to gain some momentum. I think they were at 10 or 11 or whatever. And of the Rivals top 100, 52 of them were committed by April. Of the top 250, it was 52% of them were committed to schools. That's April. And
that's unprecedented.
Yeah, and it's, for Iowa, 16 commits, and,
We're going to talk about those commits in a minute, but I want to get back to LeVar Woods and talk about who he has to work with at linebacker.
Oh, James Morris and Christian Kirksey, the two leading tacklers for Iowa. They're back. Anthony Hitchens. They got a deep group. Quentin Alston could start for just about any other program, I think. He's tremendous.
Quentin Alston, the sophomore, played a little bit as freshman. Be a core special teams kid. Travis Perry coming up, the kid from Urbandale, named to watch, I think. Travis Perry.
Is
he a freshman?
He's a redshirt freshman.
Redshirt.
Cole Fisher, another redshirt freshman from Omaha. Another kid to watch. Jim Poggi is finally healthy. So
what year is he?
I want to say he's a junior now. And he had a myriad of injuries, starting with rhabdo and shoulder injuries and with various things, and he was basically mothballed for about a year.
How about
corners?
Yeah.
Corner, it took a hit with Jordan Lomax being out for the year with the labrum surgery. He would have been the nickel guy, I think, and they were really feeling good about him, and I wonder how much that'll adjust things. The thing with Phil Parker, he's an aggressive guy. You guys have seen him. Although off the field, one of the quietest guys you'll ever be around, and barely says 2 words. He's gotten kind of more outgoing since he's become the coordinator, but he's an aggressive guy by nature, and I think he wants to play the corners tighter. I think he wants to blitz more, but I think you won't see the linebacker as much on the guy in the slot.
Good.
But I think that got hurt a little bit by the loss of Lomax. I think they were really high on him.
Did he get hurt in the spring?
It's been kind of a nagging thing, and they decided to pull the plug late this summer on him and just get him the surgery, and he's going to be out for the year. And by the way, speaking of surgery, guys, Jordan Canzeri says he's going to be back by the first game.
Yeah.
How is that possible?
He's not.
I
don't know that he'll even be medically clear. He's doing everything, but feeling it and being actually ready to compete are 2 different things.
That's right.
They're 2 entirely different things, and especially at that position where you're going to get hit in the knee, you're going to have to twist and turn, and you got to give the body time to heal. I termed him this year, he's Canzeri as the in case of emergency break glass guy in like late November or late October or early November.
Yeah.
If they're depleted and you got to do it, break the glass, and
How about that Miller, the strong safety?
Tanner Miller
doing well. The guy I think you'll be most excited about.
Who's this?
Nico Law.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Nico Law. Everybody's
6'1", 185, sophomore.
Everybody has been telling me they have to dial him back in practice because they're afraid he's going to hurt people.
Good.
He likes to fly around and hit.
Just don't hurt yourself.
And I was talking to Phil Parker on Monday, and I said, Phil, the last time I heard that talked about around the Iowa football complex, there was a safety, wore the same number that Nico Law is going to wear. He goes, let's not put that comparison out there yet. But he's got a chance to be pretty good.
Punter, place kicking.
Yeah.
Who do we have?
Meyer's going to be the place kicker unless he messes up. But I wouldn't be surprised to see Marshall Kane be the kickoff guy.
Really?
Yeah, he's got a bigger leg.
Speaking of kickoff,
Yeah.
that has changed a lot this year.
Oh,
right?
yeah, they've moved it.
That's right, they moved
Yeah.
it. So there won't be too many.
No, and that's why if you've got
There
a
won't be
guy
too
like
many
Marshall Kane who
run
can
back.
put it through the end zone for sure,
Right.
you just roll him
Yeah.
out there and you say, okay, we'll take it at 20. I'm
Right.
curious to see what happens with the kickoff games now because
No, there won't be any.
it won't.
No, I see, and this is why they did it, isn't it? For
Well,
concussions?
I think it's about concussions. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think it's
Yeah.
to limit
That's right.
the number of when the
Makes
guy's
sense.
running full speed 40 yards and he hits somebody.
That's right.
Your risk of concussion goes away.
Incidentally, a deep snapper, he used to work at the athletic club.
Casey Kreider.
Yeah.
Yeah, good kid.
From DeWitt. From DeWitt,
DeWitt, yeah, his dad, Kurt, was the longtime coach at DeWitt.
yes.
So,
What about punter?
Yeah.
up in the air, John Wenke, Johnny Mullins, Connor Cornbrath, the true freshman.
Mullings is a kid from Australia, New Zealand.
I don't think he'll run a punt.
I think it's going to be Cornbrath, but we may see a
Fresh
little bit.
freshman.
We may see a little bit of him and Wenke.
I think it'd be great if we never had a punt.
That's right.
I think Kirk Ferentz would agree with you.
Yeah.
So would Greg Davis.
Yeah,
That's my goal.
So would Phil Parker.
So, I know it's early. We're still 3 weeks out from the first game. Who do you see emerging as the leaders of this team on the field, off the field? Who are going to be some names that surprise us?
Morris.
In terms of leaders, I think you have to start with James Morris, James Vandenberg. I think those guys, Keenan Davis,
James Ferentz.
James Ferentz. I think the defense just it lacks an identity right now, and that's why I go back to Nico Law and they need that, and I hate throwing out the Bob Sanders thing because it's not fair to the kid at all, and I don't know how good he's going to be, but you guys all remember that when Bob Sanders showed up and he started playing, the Kirk Ferentz quote was, "It's like your big brother showed up to the street fight," and it changed the complexion of Iowa football, changed the trajectory of Iowa football.
Sure did.
One guy. And I think on defense, they need a guy like somebody on defense to kind of be that guy.
Step up.
To just, and not that James Morris isn't that guy, but they just need that guy that has that attitude that Pat Anger had that attitude.
Yes, he did.
I think Pat was the same
good
guy.
Example.
Just a toughness. Adrian Claiborne had that attitude. Just mentally tough, physically tough.
Or she could
Hard
have
no.
several
Yeah, you could
with the
have.
new coaching changes.
There's
That's right.
a corner.
I think Lowry has a chance to
Yeah, I
be
do
really
too.
good too.
I thought there was a cornerback that you.
Torrey Campbell's another kid who's going to be maybe the nickel.
Cornerback, you said?
Cornerback, yes.
Torrey Campbell. Maybe one of these freshmen, Sean Draper.
No, I'm talking about he'll be a senior this year.
Micah.
Oh, Micah Hyde.
Hyde.
Yeah, he's a
Micah-
pretty
Micah
quiet
Lowe,
kid
Micah-
though.
Micah Hyde.
I don't.
Oh, I don't mean he's a leader. I meant he's a good football player.
Yeah, he's a good football
Yeah.
player and a good leader, but he's a quiet kind of lead by example type guy.
And Greg Castillo.
Greg Castillo's
also
back.
senior.
Yeah. We haven't talked about C.J. Fedorowicz.
No,
who
we haven't.
I think is
We haven't
maybe
talked
the
tight end.
breakout guy. He and Ray Hamilton, I think, two guys to watch at tight end.
CJ is a junior already.
Yeah.
Hard to believe.
Well, and you have Zach Derby there, too.
And Zach Derby
Three
is-
strong tight ends.
Absolutely. And Hamilton is really something special, too.
Yeah, and then watch maybe another guy to watch, Jake Doozy. At tight end, just because if they run some of those splits with the 5 wide kind of things and they have two tight ends out there, Doozy was basically almost like a wide receiver in high school. He's got good wheels, and maybe they get some matchup situations for him.
One of the most important questions I want to ask you: they have a change in uniforms?
We're going to have the throwback for the first game.
For Iowa State.
And then the Purdue game will be those Nike combat uniforms, but it's going to be like a military theme.
Oh, okay.
And I think Iowa's going to have like a silver helmet.
Oh,
And I go back and forth on this stuff.
Silver
I know
helmet.
that kids love it and they like these whole, but it's going to be like every guy's going to have like apparently on their jersey have like Army or Navy or Air Force or something. It's going to be like for Veterans Day. It's going to be themed in that manner. But I struggle with it.
That's not
I
good,
know
too.
you guys probably do too.
It's not my thing.
I don't mind the throwback unis once in a while.
Let's have it the
Here's
right
Once in
color.
a while.
Here's my suggestion for the blackout game this year. Come out in black pants, black jersey.
That'd be cool.
It would be.
Wouldn't that be cool?
Yes.
We've never had black pants.
I know. Can you imagine what Kinnick would be like? They came out and they warm up in their regular pants, but then go in there and say, "Hey, by the way, guys, here are these black pants. Put these on." And they come out of the tunnel wearing all black. What would Kinnick Stadium sound like?
It'd go crazy, that's for sure.
How can they
for a
do
night
that?
game.
sure.
Sure.
Yeah.
Notre Dame's done it.
Somebody has to dress white.
Well, the home team
The visitors are
Okay.
always the light.
always white.
No.
Right.
Visitors
Football
are always
is
white.
dark. Home team's dark in football.
Yeah.
Well, you
Visitors
have
are white.
your
On the
school
road.
colors, and the opposing team is supposed to wear white jerseys.
Yeah,
right?
like
Right.
if it's for the blackout game.
Yeah. That's a
Or
good
that,
idea.
Yeah.
I like
Or
it.
that night game against Penn State, have black pants, come out in black pants.
Awesome.
That'd be cool.
Why don't you have Kirk call Nike this week? Get that done.
It's in the works. Have you been to the new indoor practice facility?
I have not been in it yet.
Yeah.
The day they gave us the tour, I had my son had a baseball game, so it was
First
too late
things
in the
first.
afternoon. So my priority was that I had to go coach baseball.
Where are you
No,
from?
it is done, right?
Blue
The
Mountain?
first phase is
Bluegrass.
completed.
Bluegrass.
I guess.
Okay.
Is it done, Tom?
Baseball's done.
No, the indoor practice facility.
Okay. Yeah, indoors done. Yeah, they've worked in there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's great.
Have you
Baseball
been in
season
it,
did
Mark?
drag on
Buddy,
forever.
you been in it? The new facility?
You been in there?
No.
No,
Gorgeous.
is that right?
I feel like I've watched it being built
It
every
is
day.
so
I drive by
monstrous.
it.
I mean, when they were just kind of putting it in there and everything, oh, okay, it doesn't look too big. And then when you're standing there
Oh,
outside
boy.
of it now, you're like, holy cow,
Yes,
this
Yeah,
thing is
Yeah,
Bigger than the bubble.
big. This
It's
thing
like the
is
stadium.
big.
and that's just the first phase.
Yeah.
Yeah, they've got the coach's office and all that stuff that'll be going in there next.
Yeah.
Well, we're about out of time, so I think we ought to talk about 16 verbal commitments from seniors to be.
Yeah.
High school hasn't even started yet.
Oh my God.
And we've got 16
Crazy.
kids.
It's crazy.
Let's hear who they are.
Most in the Ferentz era. They've got one 4-star kid, David Kenny, who might be a guy to watch. He's from Pike High School, but his dad got hired by the University of Indiana to be like a recruiting coordinator kind of
Oh,
thing.
boy.
So, but he's sold on Iowa. He loves Iowa. I think he's going to stick with things.
Where's Pike? Is that Indiana?
It's Indianapolis.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, along with David Kenny, John Kenny, who's from Carmel, Indiana. Those two are both friends, and they.
So my nephews went to high school.
Yeah. Got a couple of kids from the Des Moines kids. John Wisniewski, the tight end, big time prospect, had a lot of offers. Nebraska was in. Trayvon Young, who got in some trouble, so we got to wonder
Yeah.
about his situation. But
What's
Must be a tailback.
no, he's
Oh,
linebacker, DN.
I just heard something about him,
What did you hear, bud?
that he is not going to miss any high school football games.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. That'll probably help his situation.
Because it happened so far, when he did it, it happened where the line's not drawn.
Sure.
We got 3 minutes.
Ike Bodiger from Cedar Falls, the tight end. And the link there, Barkley Hill, Ike Bodiger, and next year, 2014, maybe one of the 5 best offensive linemen in the country is a kid named Ross Walker from Cedar Falls High School.
Oh, good.
And
Hi, Brian.
I was in very good with him. He's a Hawk fan, Earl, so.
oh, good.
Yeah,
Good.
They'll be your big tackle. They've hit Ohio, Brian Ferentz, Brent Gressel, Solomon Warfield. I mean, they've hit Ohio hard. They've got their quarterback, Nate Shimonek from Texas. Greg Davis, familiar with him. The funny thing was, without going through all these guys, Dirk Willies from Burlington, now Rock Island High School, wide receiver.
Yeah.
Without going into all these guys, but talked to Eric Johnson, and he said basically we're done. Now Kirk's kind of said we're leaving a couple spots open because he's made some hay finding guys off his senior tape in late November, December. I mean, getting offers in Ricky Stanzi,
doesn't know
James
who's gonna
Vandenberg,
Yeah.
Micah Hyde.
That's just for the
Well,
ones
I always
who's gonna
say,
lose.
he says, well, I don't know if we'll get to 20, and I'm like, you've got to 20 every year. You've been
Every
around.
year.
So,
Yeah.
one kid they're looking at, they got to get a running back. They don't have a running back yet. Berkeley Edwards, who's Braylon Edwards' younger brother, smaller kid. Rashid Ibrahim, a kid from Maryland, who's a running back. Those are maybe the 2 guys to watch.
Well, I hate to say it,
We got to wrap it up.
we're out of time. We've been visiting with Tom Kakert from HawkeyeReport.com, the premier online website for all things Hawkeye. We're going to have to say goodbye on behalf of Bob and Bud and Earl. I'm Dirk Keller, thanking you for watching, thanking Tom Kakert for
Thank
being
you,
here
guys.
once. And remember this, either you're a Hawk or you're not. Go Hawks. Thanks for watching.
Amen.
Amen.